Eugene, you don't very often miss a big fight for one of your fighters, but this week in Carlos Ulberg going over to the States and you'll be at home.
Yeah, I've missed, there's a few, every now and then there's just stuff that you just can't work around, right? I remember missing Dan's fight when he fought Barbosa. That was, I had a friend's wedding that I just couldn't get out of. Every now and then this happens, and this is one of those situations. Carlos has his fight the day after Junior has his fight, and I definitely committed myself to Junior and Doug and said I wouldn't be going anywhere in the latter half of this year to make sure I'm helping where I can, helping Doug where I can, helping Junior where I can. So it's just one of those situations. But I've got him some very good cornermen.
Yeah, we can talk about that because, yeah, very well served in that department.
Yeah, and this is this was a big call for me to not go, because this is Carlos's future. This is something he's been working we've been working for years now. So it's a big call for me not to go, but there has to be. Also, Junior has a big fight, and Junior has taking a big step in his career and in his life. So, look, I'm not going, but Israel and Brad are going to go and corner Carlos. And if I could have chosen any two cornermen to go with Carlos, it would have been Brad and Israel. Two guys who are obviously very professional, very knowledgeable, and experienced as well. Brad has obviously been a big part of cornering fighters over the years when he was the head striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai, but also he's still in a coaching capacity. He still has a bit of a coaching capacity with Alex Volkanovski, who's obviously the UFC featherweight champion. He's kind of relinquished all of his other coaching roles, but he keeps that one coaching role with Alex Volkanovski, so he's a very experienced coach. If I had to choose any two guys, it would be Brad Riddell and Israel Adesanya, the UFC middleweight champion. So I'm like that honestly gives me a lot of comfort, knowing that those guys so well, and knowing that they'll do such a great job. It gives me a lot of comfort. Yeah.
Every fighter doesn't make a good coach, but those guys have been cornering and being part of the scene for a long time, behind the scenes.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Not every fighter does make a good coach. In this gym, I would like to think that most of our fighters will make good coaches. I like to think that, because I think that part of the success of that gym is the understanding they have of the technique that they're doing or the strategy that they're trying to impose. I think it's a big part of it, like understanding it intimately. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you understand it, that you have to understand it intimately to learn it, because quite often that is the wrong way to go about things. I've quite often taught a complicated strategy to someone without verbally giving it across at all, because that's just not how the person functions. Once you start doing that, it breaks down and it turns into a mess. Some guys just have to repeat and just do it, and then they learn the same thing. Some guys you have to break down the strategy really articulately for them to understand it. So what I like to think with most guys here, they will make good coaches. I know with Brad and Israel, they have a very intimate understanding of what they're doing, and I'm just super pleased that they're volunteering their time to go with Carlos. Carlos has been a tremendous teammate to those guys. In fact, Carlos, for as many fights as Israel's had, Carlos would have been a part of just about all of those camps and one of his main sparring partners for a lot of those guys. So when a chance came up for Israel to reciprocate that, I couldn't be more pleased that Israel just jumped at it, and Brad the same. That's the attitude I want to see and that's for me, that's one of the most pleasing things about this trip, that those guys are going, and that those guys just jumped on the opportunity straight away to reciprocate something that Carlos has given them. And it's a massive sacrifice. You got to remember, these guys just got out of quarantine, and quarantine wasn't easy. We were away for 4 weeks. They came out, they're basically going to be out for just over a week and a bit, and then they're going to have to leave their friends, family, and loved ones again. And then they're away for another 3 weeks. They're going to go straight back into quarantine. I just finished my second quarantine for the year, and I 100% said to myself, I don't want to do that again this year. So for these guys to jump in there again for Carlos, for me, is like, that is the epitome of what this team's about. And it just warms my heart, to be honest. So I'm very thankful for those guys. And I'll be wishing them nothing but success, of course.
Well, it certainly just does emphasise the culture at City Kickboxing, and only been in the last couple of weeks that the fight was announced. What do you know about his opponent?
Yeah, I mean, the opponent, he's a great opponent. He's a Brazilian guy, but he lives in America. He trains with a great team. He's another tall guy, just as tall as Carlos, with good reach. Very technically sound, throws some good straight punches, and he knows how to use his height to his advantage. There's going to be no advantage in this particular fight because Carlos is the same height or slightly taller. So we do have a little bit of information on the opponent. We don't have a lot, but there's a little bit for us to base a little bit of our training around. But other than that, we're going to be calling on, we're calling on Carlos's base and knowledge, which he's built up for the last, decade. Carlos has been in combat, so we're calling upon a lot of that, and obviously, Brad and Israel will do their best to, get to see what they can at the time as the fight's evolving. Yeah.
There's been a lot of speculation of New Zealand fighters, who's going to be next. Can you just run through the fighters in your gym that you think deserve to be looked at? Obviously, Blood Diamond is close.
Yeah, look, one of the special kind of, one of the positions we've worked our way into is that we obviously have a very good reputation internationally and with the UFC and amongst the UFC brass, or the people that count, and they know that if a fighter's coming from this gym, that he's going to be of a particular standard or a particular quality, and they don't necessarily have to worry about him not being ready for the big stage or not being ready to be amongst the best guys in the world. And that's the kind of respect that we've garnered through the years of hard work that we've done, and we're in that position. So, I mean, I've got any number of guys. Obviously, a few of them are going to other international places, like BJ and Jenna signed with the PFL. UFC isn't the best suited organisation for everybody, but yeah, the guys I've got on the horizon now. Obviously, Carlos is just about to try and make his entry. But Blood Diamond is right there. I've got another guy, another middleweight, Cameron Ralston, who's on a 6-fight win streak. I've got another guy, Kevin, who's an excellent fighter, judo black belt, who's made leaps and bounds in this last year working on his stand-up. Who else have I got? There's a bunch of people there.
Now that you are in close with the UFC, do they ask you about other fighters in New Zealand outside this gym that you can steer maybe them towards as well? I'm thinking of the likes of Matt Vale, for instance.
Yes, I'm quite often, if a fighter from New Zealand is looking to get in the UFC, I do get messages. I'm definitely the first port of call for them. And of course, I push any Kiwi, no matter if they're from my gym or not from my gym. If the matchmakers call me and they ask me, is this one of your guys? I tell them, no, this isn't one of my guys, but he's a very good team, very good coach. These are the great qualities about him. And then of course, I'm I'm a Kiwi. I'm going to push our boys. They don't have to come from this gym. I push everybody, yeah.
Hey, cheers, mate. Thanks very much for taking time. I know this place is crazy. It was busy before you went away. It's even busier now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tony. Cheers. Thank